Good morning, everyone. This morning, I would like to share with you my knowledge on nutrient management in organic agriculture. The topics of this lecture will be composed on the components and importance of soil organic matter, benefits of stable soil organic matter, nutrient management practices in organic agriculture, and its applications to crop production. Do you know that the total supply of fertilizer globally was 245.77 million tons in 2015 and grew to 1.7% in 2016, and over the following 4 years to 2020, production of fertilizers are expected to increase further. These fertilizers are used as nutrient source for the growth and development of the crops. However, results of studies showed that constant application of inorganic fertilizer application alone affects the physical, chemical, and biological properties of the soil. Thus, it is evident that society needs a more sustainable and ecological approach to farming. Organic farming is a production management system that promotes the health of biodiversity, initiates biological cycles, and soil biological activity. Likewise, it emphasizes the use of management practices regarding the off-farm inputs. So, soil fertility management and fertilizer application in organic farming shall be guided by the philosophy, feed the soil to feed the plant, which means a healthy soil begets a healthy plants. So to achieve this, the soil organic matter needs to increase. So, what is soil organic matter? It is the fraction of the soil that consists of plant or animal tissue in various stages of breakdown or decomposition. So, most of our agricultural soils have organic matter between 3 to 6%. So it consists of 3 different parts, namely the living organisms or the living, the fresh residues or the dead, and the well-decomposed residues or the very dead. So what are the benefits of stable soil organic matter? So it enhances aggregate stability, improving water infiltration and soil aeration, and reducing runoff. It improves water holding capacity, improves the ability of the soil to resist pH change, or also known as buffering capacity. So it increases the soil's CEC, or its ability to hold and supply essential nutrients to crops. Then it provides food for the living organisms in the soil and enhances soil microbial biodiversity and activity, which can help in the suppression of diseases and pests, which is actually the number one problem in organic farming. So, application of the compost, vermicompost, liquid fertilizers, practicing green manures, manuring, animal manure application, microbial fertilizers, and mineral fertilizers will enhance the soil organic matter. So this is the different nutrient management practices we are doing at our center, which is the Ramon Magsaysay Center for Agricultural Resources and Environment Studies of the Central Luzon State University. So the RM Cares is certified organic since 2010 to present. So we developed different products through research, and these are the organic fertilizer, vermicast, vermicompost, organic liquid supplements, and these are being applied to organic aromatic rice and organic seed and organic vegetables. So for the production of compost, a 3:1:1 ratio of the plant materials, carbonized rice hull, and animal manure is being combined. So we develop a high a compost with a higher nutrient content. So we are applying this organic fertilizer for leafy vegetables such as pechay, mustard, plant kangkong, and lettuce. We apply 200 grams of the compost per square meter or 2 tons per hectare. If direct seeded, we apply the fertilizer within the row before seed sowing, and for transplanted seedling, we apply the fertilizer in each hole at planting. For string beans, 300 grams of the compost are applied during seed sowing, and for fruit vegetables such as tomato, ampalaya, okra, squash, patola, we apply 500 grams per square meter in each hole at transplanting or seed sowing. So next is the vermicomposting, which is a method of composting using earthworms. So we are using the African night crawler. So what does earthworm does in composting? So it speed up the composting process, aerate the organic material, and it enhances the finished compost with nutrients and enzymes from their digestive tracts. So based on our study, vermicast applied at the rate of 1 ton per hectare during seedling stage resulted in vigorous seedlings. So aside from vermicast, you can have vermicompost at the same time. The earthworm itself can be used as a source of income. So next is organic liquid fertilizers, which are solution of water-soluble compounds that helps the plants to grow healthy. Some of the organic liquid fertilizers we are using are fermented plant juice, which are produced through fermentation of fast-growing parts of the plants. So we are using those or getting plants with high nitrogen content. So next is a fermented fruit juice, which are produced similarly with FPJ. Example of these are banana. So here in the Philippines, we have many Indian mangoes during summer. These are available in our backyard. We are now using it as a fermented or extracting it to serve as fermented fruit juice. Next is fish amino acid, or the fermented entrails of fishes. We are getting this as waste from markets. Then convert it into fish amino acid. For the fermented banana extract preparation, we are weighing 1 kilogram of ripe banana fruit. Then we chop it into small pieces. We add 1 kilogram of molasses or brown sugar and mix. And we put the mixture in a clay pot or plastic container and ferment for 7 days. Then after 7 days, we put the mixture in a fine cloth and then squeeze on the juice. Then we put the banana extract in a dark bottle. The fermented fruit extract will be your stock solution as potassium. From the stock solution, we are getting 50 ml of the extract, and we add this to 1 liter of water and spray it to the crops once or twice a week. Farmers are using different fermented extracts, saying that once applied to their crops, it grows healthy. As researchers, we want to justify what is going on. So what we did is we analyzed the different fermented extracts like the FPJ, FFJ, fish amino acid, mung bean fermented seeds, and soybean fermented seeds, and we found out that the total NPK content ranges from 2.82 to 3.41%. So in this case, there are really nutrients present in the fermented extracts, and however, these extracts are considered as soil conditioner because in our Philippine standards, if the total NPK content ranges below 5%, this is considered as a soil conditioner, and 5 to 10% as organic fertilizers. Next is green manuring, which is the practice of growing a leguminous plant species for biomass production and incorporation into the soil. We are broadcasting mung bean seeds 2 weeks before the rice plants to be harvested. Then we are cutting this before flowering stage, because 60% of the fixed nitrogen are present in the plants in that stage. Once worked into the soil, the fresh plant material releases nutrients quickly and will be fully decomposed within a short period of time. Sow or plant a crop within 2 weeks to avoid nutrient losses. Next is a farmyard manure, which consists of animal excreta and bedding materials, usually straw or grass. It is extremely valuable organic manure. So a farmyard manure contains a large amount of nutrients. So only part of the nitrogen content of the manure is directly available to plants, while the remaining part is released as the manure decomposes. So likewise, the nitrogen in animal urine is also helpful to crops. However, it is available in the short term. The best thing is the combination of dung and urine will form a well-balanced source of nutrients for plants. You have also to observe these conditions so that you can have a better manure. So if white fungus appears with threads and white spots, the manure is too dry and should be tumbled with urine or water. A yellow-green color or bad smell are signs that the manure is too wet and not sufficiently aerated. So if the manure shows a brown to black color throughout the heap, these conditions are ideal. So the NPK content of goat and carabao manure as shown is in table 1. So the nitrogen content ranges from 1.32 to 1.40%. However, in the phosphorus content, this is higher as compared with the nitrogen content, and you can observe that partially decomposed manure is higher in its phosphorus content as compared with fresh goat manure. So this is an example of the preparation of the manure tea. So gather and weigh 30 kg of partially decomposed carabao manure. Put the manure in a sack, then tightly tie the sack. Put the tightly tied sack in a container. Fill the container with 120 liters of water. Then put a cover and let it ferment for 7 days. So this is the ratio: 30 kg of partially decomposed manure to 120 liters of water. After 7 days, remove the sack in the container, and the fermented manure tea is ready to use. So you can use this or spray this directly to the plants. Next is mineral fertilizers, which are based on ground natural rock. Some examples of these are plant ashes, lime, stone powder, and rock phosphate. So you can see the application. For example, for stone powder, you can apply this to farmyard manure to reduce a volatilization of N and encourages the rotting process. Lastly is the microbial fertilizers, which are mostly consist of organic material and some source of sugar or starch, which are fermented together with specific species of microorganisms. Some examples of bacterium that fixes atmospheric nitrogen are Rhizobium, Azotobacter, and Azospirillum. For phosphorus solubilizer, microorganisms are Pseudomonas, and for fungus root symbiosis are mycorrhiza. So trichoderma is also a fungus which can be used as a biofertilizer, activator, and biocontrol and inoculant, as what we are doing in our center. So our center was able to isolate through species of uh, trichoderma, namely Trichoderma longibrachyatum and Trichoderma aspergillum, and make it this as microbial fertilizer. So now we are using this as activator or decomposer, as seed inoculant, and bio fertilizer. That's all my lecture, and thank you for listening.